do. Right then, Dave, let's have a little...
People go trekking who have questions about trekking. Two people who go trekking are here to answer your questions about trekking. Introducing the Tuesday Tune-In, hosted by Andy and Dave.
Are we live? No.
As far as we know, it's live.
Let's check if we're live, mate. Let's check if we're live.
Are we live?
Live.
Tackling subjects such as
Talking about good travel,
charities,
altitude, flying,
Footwear.
vaccination, fitness.
so you can make an informed decision about trips and go into them as prepared as possible. Years of expertise shrouded in top-level banter. Tune in every Tuesday at 12:30-ish.
It's kind of weird that it's Friday, Dave.
Oh, I hate that acting bit. No.
But that was really good. That was really well acted.
No, it freaks me out every time I see it.
You didn't like it.
I think I could do a better job.
Definitely. Wanted to play the intro there, but welcome. Just let us know if you can hear us as well. Obviously, hopefully you can see us. Just testing out the mic. Don't do that. I'll break it.
That's how you test it, right?
That's how you test it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Apologies. I know it says there Tuesday tune in, but today is Friday. We usually do these. Actually, last week we did our 200th Tuesday tune in, which actually was on a Tuesday last week.
Yeah.
And we started them back in March 2020. So yeah, it was some time ago, Dave.
This is the weird thing. It's all a bit discombobulated.
It is
doing the TTI on a Friday.
I wonder if all the usual Evertrekkers will show up. Let's have a little look.
If we did it on Thursday, at least TTI would still work.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
but
that.
No.
It would actually, yeah. And Carl is right. Are we live? Yeah. I mean, I have to say it, but we are live.
Yeah, we are live. I mean, there's I just saw one person. Who was it? Gavin Dow. Did I win? Patience, Kimosabi. We will get to the announcement at some point.
Some point today. I mean, because that's why we're here, right? There's an announcement today.
Exactly. Yeah. So some lucky soul is going to be sent out to Everest Base Camp. I mean, lucky they're not going this week because the weather has been
challenging.
Has been stressy, to say the least.
Sorry, whenever I get a call from you early hours,
Yeah.
Kumbu cough.
Let's get it out, mate.
I know, typical. The water deck went down the wrong way. So hopefully you won't die on air. But yeah, Dave's right. The weather has been very challenging this week.
Yeah, it has been. Climate change, I think is affecting the poll. And I think climate change probably plays out in its most sort of obvious in the extreme environments,
Yeah.
And I think when you go to the Himalaya and things like that, any subtle changes make a big difference. And it's been quite challenging to get the Lukla flights going. However, they have gone ahead. Big thanks to all the Evertrekkers who are out there at the moment for their patience and flexibility, because certainly they've required both over the last few days. But I'm pretty certain that whenever the winner goes, the weather will be pristine, crystal blue skies, excellent views, prayer flags flapping in the wind.
I hope so, Dave. I hope so, because it's great, and great to see some people as well. Let's do a few shout outs. If you have arrived and this is your first Friday tune-in, drop in the comments. Let us know who's here. So we've got Simon. We've got Marky V. First one for ages, because it's a Friday, Marky V. Richard, how you doing? Hope all is well. Who we got? We got Gavin, John, Rob. Here we go. We've got some newbies as well. We've got Carl Zappel, of course, is on it. Tina Barrett, look at that. Greetings from Pokhara.
Oh,
your
Tina,
Mustang trick looked amazing, by the way.
It does look amazing. I'll be honest with you, I could take or leave the mountains, but Tina's done quite a remarkable job of capturing the dogs.
He's a lot of pets. I noticed that. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the animals that you find, but I can see Georgie Stanfield. How's it going?
Yeah, George, how you doing, mate? Good.
Slanjo, my friend.
Who else we got on here? We got Michelle, our first one today. Dan, first time. Yes, there are a lot of newbies today, so we're going to talk a little bit about the trip. I know if a lot of Evertrekkers who have already been to Everest, you've probably heard some of this before, but we'll talk a little bit about the Everest Base Camp trip, which is obviously the prize today. And then about halfway in, what we're going to do, so something we actually started doing kind of back end of last year in similar sort of competitions, is we actually call the winner live on the Friday.
And sometimes they answer.
Sometimes they're more excited than others. The last one we had actually was amazing, wasn't it? I think her name was Ivory, and she was really excited. About halfway. So do hang with us, and then we'll be doing a big Q&A. Then we've had lots of questions in already. Thank you so much if you sent in your questions. Obviously, we want to be able to answer those for you today.
Yep.
And hopefully tackle anything around Everest Base Camp. But to be honest, any questions at all. We've had about 30 in already. So we'll try and smash through those as best we can.
We have had quite a few. So I think we got probably Vicky on the phones today. So by the phones, I mean copy and pasting your messages
into our WhatsApp group.
You're giving away the secrets of the game.
High level tech that we use.
Exactly. So especially on the competition winners, you see what we see is like a list of scrolling comments. But because so many of you join, which is awesome, but the comments go pop, 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 so it's very difficult to keep track of everybody.
It is.
So we have Vicky who very, very helpfully copies and puts your questions here.
Look at that, she's very organised.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
so, Eileen Calder, going to get to you. Andy Clark, calm down. I'm going to answer it for you. Dan Palmer, rest assured, mate, I'm going to get to you.
Brilliant. Well, Dave, I mean, let's start with the trip then.
Yeah.
And I suppose we'll go back to the beginning. And obviously, welcome to Evertrek as well. If you're new to the community, Evertrek was founded really off a trip we did back in 2016. Going to Everest Base Camp, and we came back wanting to help other people. It was one thing that obviously the name come from Everest Trekking, Evertrek. That's where the name comes from. And so we've been running trips to Everest Base Camp for the best part of 8 years now. And as of last year, we became basically we take more people to Everest Base Camp than any other company in the world. As of last year, which was pretty cool numbers to see.
Yeah.
So we like to think we know what we're doing when it comes to Everest Base Camp, and obviously we do a lot more trips. I know today is primarily focused on Nepal and Everest Base Camp, but it's a heck of a trip, Dave.
Do you know something remarkable?
Go on.
8 years ago today, I arrived in Lukla for the first time ever.
Right. You sent me a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually today, 8 years ago, today was the first time ever that I arrived in Lukla. In fact, by this time now, I was already infecting.
So you would have been
chilling
by lunchtime.
Yeah, going up the little monastery walk.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm kind of reliving all of those memories that Facebook's like throwing my way now. So,
that's it. I love. That's one of the things I do love is the memory stuff. It pops up and it shows you some bits that you sometimes, when you've got busy lives, you kind of forget.
Yeah.
Especially, but when you're doing these sort of trips, you're doing Everest Base Camp, and it's such a powerful. I love Bri, how you doing? He's got his number ready. There we go. Don't give your whole number away. That could go many ways. But yeah, definitely leaves its mark on you. I know someone asked a really kind of deep question.
Yep.
By email, and we'll get to that. And it was around Everest Base Camp itself, and the kind of what it does for you mentally. And sometimes spiritually as well. It's a very, very powerful place. But we will come on to that.
That was Mark Harrison. That was.
Which is a really nice question.
There, mate. Got them all there.
Oh, he's on it. Sorry, Mark. We will get to that question. Hey, Jane. Year ago, our group was in Namche. I know it flies by.
Yeah.
Jane, it's about time next adventure.
I would say so.
But no, with Everest, it's certainly a challenge. And as Dave said there, one day in, you fly to Lukla, you get up to Phakding, and then you've got 8 days of walking then to get to Everest Base Camp. Now, distance-wise, it doesn't really feel that much when we're talking about how long it takes to get there. But we always use time. That's what we talk about, like hours in the day. And we talk about days to actually get there, because sometimes you can say 7 miles in a day and people think, that's only take me half a day. But your altitude, and especially in Everest Base Camp, when you're going up over 5,000 meters, those 7 miles can be really difficult.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think, it's largely irrelevant how far you've got to walk.
Yeah.
Because it's not equatable to what we do back here at sea level. So everybody knows.
Excuse me.
I know, mate. You haven't coughed once this morning.
I know, it's typical. It's absolutely typical.
But yeah, so I think most of the time, we do 20 minutes a mile on average if you're sort of taking a leisurely stroll here. But a mile can take you 20 minutes at altitude, or it can take you an hour.
Yeah.
So the best way to kind of describe what the exertion level is going to be like every day is not by how far you've got to go, but how long you're going to be walking.
Yeah.
But I would say between 5 and 12 hours a day.
That's your gauge.
That's your gauge.
That's your gauge.
So
exactly.
some days you get away with it and you'll have a nice easy one. I think day one's pretty easy to fact in.
Yeah.
Then day two's pretty, it's usually about 7 to 8 hours up to Namche, but it's the last 3.5, 4 hours are like that, and
Exactly. It's a bit of a beast, isn't it? And especially on base camp day, where you're going all the way to Everest Base Camp and back to Gorakshep, where you'll be staying for the night. It can be a heck of a day, especially because you're at altitude and you might not have been above 5,000 meters before and your body's tired. You've already been walking for previous 7 days. If you're going on the classic route, there are more routes to Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
The one that someone win today is the classic, the kind of legendary route, following the footsteps of famous mountaineers. And it's an epic trip.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll be walking sort of 8 days and then you're at Everest Base Camp, and then it's actually 3 days back, which is a bit nuts, really, saying all that distance in 3 days. But it just goes to show that obviously on the way up, we do 2 acclimatization stops. So one at about 3,300 meters, and we spend 2 nights there. And then we spend another 2 nights just over 4,300 meters in a little village called Dingboche. And that helps the body acclimatize, because if you were to go straight for it, it's highly likely it's going to cause you a lot of issues. And altitude is no joke. We have to take it seriously. You obviously want a good time, but we want to make sure everyone's safe at altitude. It's the number one rule.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think, altitude is one of them. It is crazy when you think it takes you 8 days to get to base camp and only like sort of 3 days to get back.
It is mental.
And those 3 days are not easy, to be fair. You feel better by and large most mornings because you're sleeping at a lower altitude than you started at.
Yeah.
So you tend to recover a lot quicker as you go down. But certainly it is very tough those last 3 days. I think so anyway, because
I'll take a picture of John. Thanks, John. Thanks for those kind words, mate. Great to see you safely back down from EBC. Sorry, Dave.
No, that's all right, mate. Yeah, no.
I know when these things pop up there, I'm like, that's so nice.
No, John's been, as we were saying, very tricky times. But it is one of those. I forgot where I was, wasn't it?
Sorry, Dave. I know, it's typical, isn't it? I disrupted you. I think we were talking about the distance of 3 days back.
Yeah.
Obviously that is a long way. You're pretty much almost 40 miles, over 60 kilometers in 3 days. I know it's. You think if you run that.
Well, some do, don't they?
Some do.
Base camp to Namche on the Everest Marathon.
What's Haley said? Not tough going back down for me. I got the helicopter. Haley. Well, sometimes that's fine. People do. It's something that
I've done it.
I know you've done it from EBC. I've not got the chopper down. I've always walked back, but it's certainly been on my bucket list. Maybe in the future, we'll see. Definitely. Trevor, techniques to cope with the altitude. Coca tea from Peru. Well, while in Rome, yes, and in Peru, and having been down there and on the Machu Picchu trip, it's regularly served, and it works just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't bring any coca leaves into Nepal. Most of the time as well, you have to kind of travel via sort of a Middle Eastern country.
Yes.
They have relatively strict rules on that type of thing.
They do have strict rules.
They can be quite cross if you bring coca leaves into Qatar, for instance, which is where we
leave them in Peru.
But Diamox tea, I'm sure we can wash down a Diamox with the tea. That should be all good. Hey, Andrea, how's it going?
Hey, Andrea, that is very true. Coming back is mentally as hard. Yeah, exactly. That hot shower is like the best shower you'll ever have after almost 2 weeks without one.
Oh, no, I agree, yeah. Although I will say that, I had the bucket shower in Tengboche one time.
I remember that.
It was the best ever, where we paid for this like really deep hot bucket full of water, and it was the perfect hot temperature, and you just scooped it up, poured it over yourself. It was the best thing ever.
Exactly.
It was actually John, our friend John, that convinced me to have that, because I wasn't bothered. I was going to have a wet whitewash in the room.
I remember that. Yeah, that was back in 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah,
when we went there. And Yeah, I remember you guys going, "Oh, we're having a shower," and I was like, "Are you mental?" Because the power wasn't working, but they found a way.
It was the best thing ever. The best thing ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for all your questions as well. And Joshua, I know you dropped your flights question there. We'll get to them. Definitely, we'll do it after the winner announcement. So about another 10, 15 minutes, we'll be doing the winner announcement. Dave, I know we've got the winner's name over there.
Yeah, as always, we've spent no expense on the whiteboard of doom, which I lift up.
Brilliant.
I'll be honest, today I was going to do something a little bit more artistic, and then Andy
what happened, Dave?
I couldn't be bothered. So I was starting to do it, and it was requiring too much time and effort, and I thought to myself, do you know what? They don't really care about how much effort I put into the whiteboard. They care about whether they win or not.
That is very true.
And I thought, there's me what was going to spend 20 minutes, half an hour making this whiteboard good, and I was like, they don't care.
Oh my God, brilliant.
Do you know what?
Dave, I was just thinking, I know we were talking about the trip itself. I mean, obviously you've done it 4 times. I've been there 5 times. What's the kind of standout moments for you on the Everest Base Camp trip?
So many.
Yeah.
It's easier to answer for trips like Kilimanjaro for me, because there is some variance day to day, but you're on the same mountain, largely seeing the same thing, and there are fewer highlights, although it is an amazing trip. EBC is difficult because every day I felt like there was something that popped up that I was like blew my mind. I think probably the most remembered experience for me. Well, I have 2.
Okay.
And they alternate in my mind depending on my mood. But the first one is I was on my way up to Namche, the first time I ever went there, and you sit down at this rest stop, and you're having there's usually a person there selling like Cokes and stuff like that. So I bought a bottle of Coke and I was relaxing. And then my guide says, "Oh, do you want to see Everest?" And I hadn't anticipated that I would have seen it on the second day. And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, come and have a look." And then there was this gap in the trees, like perfectly framed, and then straight down the middle, you could see Everest.
Amazing.
And I was like,
love that route.
It just completely caught me unawares. I wasn't expecting it. I just saw it and was like, wow.
Yeah, how did it make you feel?
That was amazing. Well, I couldn't stop staring, and it genuinely was.
Dave got a bit starey.
Yeah, it was genuinely a difficult thing to sort of pull yourself away.
Yeah. Because
I wanted to sit there for like an hour and just muse on what I was looking at and the history and who had climbed it. And, imagine, like the certain individuals who I'd like read about were probably stood not 2 feet from where I was right then, like, decades earlier, and I wanted to muse on that, but the guy's like, "Come on, mate, now she's waiting."
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, Marky V says there. I mean, and it's typical, isn't it? Because it was perfect, but the trees have sadly kind of grown over now, so you can't really see it as much. I know there's rumours they might sort of trim them down a little bit.
Yeah.
I only want to win if Dave puts effort in on the whiteboard. That's very true, Bri. I did say, look, the winner's not going to be happy if it's rubbish.
Yeah. I'll be honest. If Bri ever wins, I'll put a lot of effort into it for him. But
you'd be leaving now.
Yeah. Oh, Mercedes said she knows the exact spot, but when she walked past, it was cloudy. Gutted.
Mate,
that's why it's so lucky. I've the 4 times I've done base camp, only once at that spot have I ever actually managed to see Everest, and it was, you couldn't have asked. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was like crystal blue sky.
Such a wonderful place, isn't it? But so that was one of your moments then.
I think the other one was. Climbing up Nangaskar Peak, which is
Dingboche,
and it's on the acclimatization day. Not everyone goes to the top because it's not required. There's like a plateau where some prayer flags are. And but when I went up there, I thought, I got to go to the top. So I went to the top, and that was the first time I ever got to like 5,000 meters. And then I was there on my own for about 10 minutes, waiting for everyone else to come up, and it was just like. All of a sudden, because I was taking pictures, then I turn around and like right in front of you, almost like it feels like it's there, is Amadablam.
So did you get a bit starey again?
I got a bit starey again, yeah. And so I sat there, just me and Amadablam having a little bit of a chill.
Yeah.
That was good. And I also knew at that point I was going to make EBC.
Nice.
Because
you're over 5,000
I got over 5,000 meters and I knew I was okay. So although I didn't sort of admit it to myself, there was this feeling that I knew at Dingboche that I was going to reach Everest Base Camp. So a lot of the anxiety just like left. and all I did then was just enjoy it day to day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I think for me, there was a couple of powerful moments. I think certainly you're right with the first time you see Everest. It's one of those things you just can't really say you're going to react until you see it, and you're like, bloody hell, that is amazing. Certainly when you actually reach Everest Base Camp, and I remember the first time I got there, now because I was on my own, it was winter. I think I remember almost breaking down like when I got there. It was I think because I'd worked so hard, and I trained. I trained as much as I kind of booked it sort of 3 or 4 months before I first went there, and this is before Evertrek now. So there was no Friday tune in, Tuesday tune in. It was none of this. It was very different. Not a lot of information out there. And I'm an asthmatic, so part of me was really worried about that. How am I going to be at altitude? And once I realised that actually, breathing is exactly the same. It's it's just about acclimatizing. Whether you're an asthmatic, whether you're whether you're kind of you got other things going on, it is certainly it's one of those things that once you get there and you realize it's possible, it's an amazing feeling. And then having gone back kind of many other times, my favorite bits are definitely around the group, and the people you meet, because even and I think someone mentioned that, I think it was sorry, I forgot your name. I'm scrolling up to find your name, but I think it was John actually. He mentioned around the guides and stuff, and I love all the friendships that you kind of make with the guides, the porters, and then the group as well. Like, you like to think that people who choose to take on these challenges, are really interesting people. They come from all walks of life. It is for everyday people, and we get a really good mix of people in their 20s and 30s, people in their 60s and 70s. We've had people get Everest Base Camp with us, mid 70s, and absolutely fantastic. Each day it's obviously harder to recover, but because altitude's such a leveler and you go so slow, it's a broad spectrum of people that you can meet, and that for me is one of the biggies. Is the friends I've made. Both actually loads of friends in the Evertrekker community and loads of friends that we meet on the group.
No,
so I love that
100%.
stuff.
I think everybody that you meet sort of in this world is usually someone. In fact, I don't know of anyone really that sort of comes into your world through a desire to go to places like Everest Base Camp that you don't immediately have an affinity with. And I've been very lucky enough to meet many of the people on this live. I love you all. I think it's amazing that people actually spend their time watching what we do here, and with a desire to go to EBC. And it never ever ceases to amaze me how what the community aspect is like. It is the best community ever.
It is, even if it's someone's birthday. And is it someone's birthday today? Well, big happy birthday, Matt. I hope you have an awesome time, mate. Winning the competition would be the best gift ever. Oh, mate, I can imagine. Well, look, hopefully you'll have an awesome birthday anyway, whatever happens. And as we're creeping towards, I think, Dave, look, I know we've chit-chatted. We've got a lot of questions. I don't want to miss these questions because there's some really good ones. I think we should announce the winner.
Oh, you ready to announce the winner now? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, because we've only got about 5 minutes until.
I don't think they want to hear who the winner is. I think they'd rather us talk more. I think.
I'm not too sure. They seem pretty keen. Rob's 50th tomorrow.
Should
Rob, have an awesome birthday. Christina's birthday yesterday. God, everyone. No, it's October. Everyone loves birthdays in October, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. So
Pritesh is here. Hey, Pritesh. Well, shall we?
Shall I make them do a poll? #winner, #talk more. No, we'll do the winner.
I think they definitely want to call. Before you do that, though, you know what needs to happen?
It's way too far over. Yeah, you call him, and I'm going to get the board of death.
Them.
Board of doom.
375.
Are we flipped the right way? Is this going to come up the right way, or is it going to come up backwards?
Yeah, Evertrek's fine, mate.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing this. So, what we're going to do to everyone, good luck, by the way. And thank you so much to everyone that's entered as well. We had over 12,000 entries, which is amazing. Obviously, there's only one winner, but there will be runner-up prizes as well. So do keep an eye on the emails over the next couple of days. But thank you so much anyway. Obviously, you've registered for the competition, so we know that you're keen to do Everest. And obviously, there can be only one winner, but we'd love to be involved, and we'd love to help you on your journey. Obviously, myself and Dave have done it many times, and we know a lot of the Evertrekkers. Lots of people who are in here already have trekked with us over the last several years. It's great to learn from that community, and we're all at different stages. Some people have just come into, oh my God, maybe thinking about doing it, and there's people who are maybe almost there, and there's people who have already done it and they want to go back and try something different. And that's what we're here. We're here to help you on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, enough talking.
They've been drumming for a while.
I was going to say, I can hear the drumming through the screen here. I'm just going to check I got this number right, because otherwise it's going to be weird, right? Okay, right. I'm going to put on loudspeaker, and let's see what happens. Hopefully they answer. It's ringing.
No, he's not going to answer.
Hello, is that Scott?
Yeah, speaking.
Oh, hi Scott. It's Andy here from Evertrek. How are you going?
Hi guys, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. You're live on Facebook at the moment. I noticed you registered for the Everest Base Camp competition. Just wanted to say that you've just won.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yes, mate. Yeah. If you were on Facebook now, you would see me holding up a well-crafted sign with your name on it, mate. You are the winner.
Oh wow! Christ. Heart's racing.
Sorry, I know we've caught you out of the blue. We're just live
No,
now. We're doing a Q&A. More than welcome to jump on, by the way, if you wanted to jump on. But yeah, congratulations. You're going to Everest Base Camp.
Oh my God, that's amazing! Thank you so much.
No worries.
I don't know how to process this.
No, we'll take your time.
Well, just book your flights is the best part, I think. And,
Wow.
No, we'll obviously we're chatting on the phone now. We'll get in touch after the live and drop you an email, and then we'll talk after that.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Good man. All right, cheers, Scott. All the best. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Every time I hold this, I always I'm off camera.
Maybe we need a smaller one. Well, Scott, congratulations.
Look at the effort I put into
Mate, I got to be honest, you're doing well with that.
Yeah, no.
And you've put a lot of, you definitely put a lot of effort into the artwork.
There was going to be prayer flags on it and all sorts of stuff, but that's literally the best I could do.
But congratulations to Scott anyway. Absolutely amazing. It was great. It's always hard, isn't it? Because I can imagine, how would you feel? Called out of the blue. It's it must be immense to do that. But anyway, we're so happy to be able to do it. Let's take some questions. And like I said, when we're tackling questions, there will be runner-up prizes, which we will be sending over the next 24 hours. Right, questions.
By the way, Britt says the sign was better than expected. So I feel like I did a good job.
Okay,
I did a good job of setting the tone.
So do you reckon you lowered expectations and surprised?
Yeah, it was. I under-promised and over-delivered. It's a good system.
That is a very good system. Right.
Eileen Calder, I did promise I'd do your question, didn't I? What I would like to know is how much training needs done. I live in Scotland, so finding hills to climb should be easy. I'll be honest, if you're a Scottish hill walker, you're already probably more than fit enough.
Yeah.
Some of the fittest people that I've ever met and most hardy breed of human are the Scottish hill walker brand.
Definitely.
I would say, you don't have to be a super athlete. You don't have to have crazy levels of fitness. Very often, the people that go to Everest Base Camp are not the fittest in their friend group. They're just people that have done some work. So I will also say, though, that the fitter you are, the more enjoyable the trek is, because you're not at your limit all the time. You recover a lot faster, and you've got more time to sort of take it all in. When you are at your limit each and every day, it's a bit of a grind, and there's this countdown that starts to when you start getting really fatigued.
Yeah.
I would say if you were to give yourself the smallest possible window for training, I would start at least 2-3 months before I went, and I would be doing walking most days, and I'd probably be walking for anything from 2 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Getting 10, 15, 20,000 steps in a day. Couple of rest days and back to it. And I think if that's all you did, you're probably going to be fit enough. Combine it with some gym work, strength and conditioning for your endurance, and with a pack, and you'll be fine. There is training guides and things like that we can send you away, which are far more detailed. All I'm trying to get across now is that you don't have to be, an ultra Ironman triathlete in order to do EBC.
Yeah, exactly. Really good answer. Dan Palmer, what's the best time of year to go for views? I love the comments. I could brave temperatures regardless, but the views are important. I know you put some questions about group dynamics and stuff like that as well. But yeah, with regards to temperatures, so essentially March, April, May is kind of the spring months. And imagine you're coming out of winter, so you can imagine March is definitely the coldest out of those three. April and May, and then late May, then you kind of creep into the summer months because Northern Hemisphere. So it can get quite warm. That being said, you're in the Himalayas, like it's never, it's not beach weather. During the day, it can be quite hot, 15, 20 degrees, but then as soon as the darkness comes, the temperature does plummet. So most people are wearing down jackets and things in the evening, especially if you're walking around the villages like Namche or Dingboche. It's quite common. And then you've got the autumn then. So you're looking at September, October, and November, and even into December as well. And then the same goes. So the later you leave it, the colder it will be. Personally, though, for views, November's really, I'd say, my favourite time to go. I've done it twice in November and loved it. Generally clearer skies. You never know for certain, but if you were looking at kind of the average time for best clear views, then November would be up there definitely, and I'd say March, but you just never know. I mean, normally we'd say October, but then this week, it had a lot of cloud. You just don't know. Sometimes it can be it's a bit crazy at the moment with regards to climate, but so it is a lot more unpredictable than it kind of used to be.
Yeah.
But I would say, for me, November is great.
I will say, John is a man after my own heart. The extra night in Lukla waiting for the weather to clear was awesome.
More beers.
Cheeky pint. Honestly, though,
we've all been there.
I will say that just to anyone watching who's worrying about the weather and delays and things like that, you need to adopt the John Lee Monk attitude of delays, which is almost certainly have a couple of extra nights. It's out of your control, so there's no point worrying about it. We will get you out as soon as you can, and it's about making the most of the time that you've got there. Usually that means heading down to the Scottish bar, a couple of games of pool, a few beers, have some food and chill.
I once got stuck there for 4 days, and this was in winter, mind, and we don't run trips in winter for this exact reason. But we've certainly visited that bar a few times. Monica Lewis, my question is, what in your opinion is the toughest part of the trek, and why, Dave?
Toughest part of the trek. Tricky one. I would say.
Well, toughest days for you.
They're all.
Difficult one, Dave?
I don't know. I've never really found a day on EBC to be so tough that it kind of blows my mind, and I think oh my god, I barely made it through that one. Okay. Actually, I'll be honest with you. The last day.
Base camp day.
The last day. Namshi to Lukla, I would say, is the toughest one for me.
Interesting.
Because it's very long.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the end of the trip, so my mind is kind of moving towards that hotel in Kathmandu, getting a nice steak and a beer.
So
and
your body starts to relax.
I start to kind of like... I'd say the last day is probably the toughest for me.
Okay.
Or maybe Feriche to Namshi sometimes can be quite tough. There's a lot of up and down that day.
Yeah. And I think it's different for everyone. I remember the first time I did it, I definitely found base camp day quite difficult, but we had bad weather. It was like minus 20.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough because it was in January. That was a tough day for me, and I'd never been there before. It was I think all that day we only saw like 6 people all day because there was just no one there.
Yeah.
And it was pretty brutal. And I remember getting back and like I really need a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
That was definitely I definitely hit the wall. I'd say generally base camp day just because you're at the highest point. That being said, also, and I think Carl's mentioned there about Kalapatar. So the morning after you actually get to Everest Base Camp, you have the chance to go up to watch the sunrise on Kalapatar, which basically you can see the summit. It's the best spot to have a look at the summit. So it's absolutely fantastic place if you can get up, because it is early. It's tough. You've smashed it the day before. You're knackered, and then you're thinking, okay, I got to get up 4:00 the next day, do another 2 hours of up, and then you've got a big day off the back of that. But if you can stomach it, get up. It's an amazing
Yeah,
view.
it's definitely worth doing.
Worth doing.
Mark Harrison,
Yeah.
The only question I have is more of a feeling one.
Ooh.
What has the climb into base camp done for you both mentally and spiritually? You've mentioned feelings like no other and the best views you'll ever see, etc. So wondering what the adventure has meant / done for you. Well, that's a deep question. That's probably a TT. That's probably a Tuesday tune-in all on its own.
It is, isn't it?
I think
Definitely on a Tuesday, not a Friday.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
no, I'm joking.
I would say the biggest thing it's done. I mean,
Yeah.
take as read. Seeing Everest is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Meeting the people is mind blowing. trekking in the Himalaya, all of that sort of stuff is amazing. What I will say is two things about what it's done as an everlasting feeling. One, when I went there, I would have said regarding spirituality that I was like unspiritual. Like I had zero spiritual feelings one way or the other.
Yeah.
Not something that ever entered my life. There was nothing that I ever saw, no matter how beautiful, that really made me feel like I had a connection to it. Like, I mean, beyond it being beautiful, but nothing that sort of went beyond.
Yeah.
I will say Base Camp changed that for me.
Yeah.
Going around the Himalaya, standing in front of the biggest peaks in the world, and you get quiet moments where you are on your own with the mountain. And I do feel like that and I guess you'd call it spirituality.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't really think of it that way. I just felt like there's definitely something here. There's like a feeling I'm getting that I'd never had before. So it did awaken something like to that degree. The second one is it broadened my horizons. You know, like it was something that probably most people at some point in their life will think that, you know, the majority of people will think I'll never be able to do that. That's something that other people do and I won't ever do it. Some people, of course, they think I'll do it and they do it. Great for them. But most people, I think, have a moment where they think of things like visiting Mount Everest at some point in their life leading up to when they go, that it was something other people did. And when you go there and you get past that hurdle, all of a sudden, EBC was the first time I went to altitude. It was the first time that I had ever done any sort of trip like that.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been back to Nepal like 6-7 times. I've done EBC 3 more times. I've done Mount Kilimanjaro. I've been multiple times to Tupkal in the Atlas Mountains. Yeah. You know, I've gone. I learned to ski. I do feel like all of a sudden I was like
open a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
What
about you?
Similar to me, really. I think, you know, I've always liked kind of challenges in the mountains, even before Everest Base Camp. I think it was somewhere I'd always wanted to go, and I think especially just my own limiting beliefs were like, can I do it? Am I fit enough? Is it, you know, because you see it in the news and stuff, it's only for like super fit people. And, you know, maybe I was going to the gym, I was surfing at the time. I wasn't doing a lot of fitness. So I had that limiting belief, you know, can I do it safely? And it wasn't until I came back and look, fitness is really important and you know, you have to put some serious training in. But actually it made me realize like, wow, what else can you do?
Mm-hmm.
So it did open my mind to that way. Not only that, Nepal's an amazing place. Like the Himalaya is such a powerful place. Everyone leaves there with something, and you don't know what that is. It could be that you go back with more. You know, you go back and you know maybe it improves your family life. Maybe it's good for when you go back to work. Maybe it improves and you actually gives you the kick to make a big change in your life. You know, whatever it is, you know, it definitely gives you something, and it's different for everyone. But it certainly does something for everyone. Yeah, it's a magic place. It's literally Scott Francis actually had a question.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's mad. Sorry, Scott. If you watch it, what kind of equipment will we need to bring for a trek to Everest? Yeah, so good question. And there is a lot. Actually, if you're already into walking and hiking, in the UK especially, because, you know, you plan for all 4 seasons, you've probably got 80-90% of it already. Now, we do have some specific equipment lists and things like that. Vix, I know if you're on the comments, if you can drop some of the links in the comments there, you can download some of our equipment lists. Everyone that books with us anyway, you know, you will get access to all the innards, if you like, of the equipment and what you'll specifically need. But, you know, you're just walking. You don't need any technical gear, especially going to Everest Base Camp. It's different on, you know, some of our peaks. Dave in the comments there, sense of humor and a tin of morale. Exactly. Yep. Sense of humor is really helpful. Certainly when you're going through difficult times, you know, not everyone gets on with altitude. You can, you know, and sometimes you need a sense of humor. Definitely. Yeah, tin of morale. I love that.
I pack quite a lot of banter with me when
There's
I go.
a lot of, well, it's quite weighty.
It's quite weighty. It's my favorite thing to do on any sort of trip with my friends.
Yeah,
is to start a process of annoying each and every one of them.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah.
So like, my favorite target, I'll be honest, is John.
Poor John. I know. I feel sorry for John. He's one of our friends, but he's never tracked.
Those of you that have been on the training weekend will know John. But the first time he ever went to, because what he does is really annoying. I'll invite him to do these things with me first time.
Yeah.
He'll say, no, I can't make it. And then I have to go back and do them a second time with him. So we did this when we were at base camp. So my second time to base camp was his first time. And I think it was Fac Ding first when he left his bag. And I was like, picked up a stone and I just stuffed it in his bag. And I was doing this periodically, sort of every day.
Yeah.
Until we got to
John.
Douglas Pass.
Yeah, that's like 5 days later.
5 days later. And he picked up his bag and he went, oh my God. And he said, what's in you? And he looked at it and there must have been about 4 kilos of rocks that I had put in there. I couldn't stop laughing. I to this day, I don't regret it. And I would do it again.
Poor John. Oliver has asked a good, really good question. When it comes to experience levels, walking, difficulty level, fitness level, what would your opinion be when you compare EBC, Gokyo Valley, and the Three Peaks, Three Passes trip? So yeah, essentially, when it comes to the routes to Everest, so obviously the classic route is the easiest. Now, none of these are easy, by the way, but the easiest. You want to be able to hike, 6 to 8 hours a day. And don't forget, you've got to be doing that for, some days are shorter, some days are longer, but for 8 days. Gokyo Valley would be kind of the second hardest out of the three. And then the Three Passes then, because essentially it's almost it's a 20-odd day expedition, and you're going over 3 high passes or over 5,000 meters, as well as Everest Base Camp and Kalapatar. So, it is a beast, and it's more about the fatigue. So, lots of people can get to Everest Base Camp, but you've got to think it's almost twice the distance. So the Three Passes trip is difficult. That being said, we've had people who haven't been to altitude before, are into their walking. They're not massive, super fit, but they've jumped onto Gokyo Valley or the Three Passes and they've been absolutely fine. And remember, it's just walking. It really comes down to, you don't need any technical experience, although any time at altitude or on mixed conditions, maybe a bit of scrambling, even on crampons, things like that gives you a lot of experience, but you don't necessarily need that. That's what I would say across those 3 trips. Yeah, so EBC, the easiest, not easy. Three Passes, the hardest. Gokyo Valley, kind of in the middle.
Awesome. Dan Palmer said, not Dan Palmer, I think we've answered his. Andy Clark.
Yeah.
What would you say are the 5 out of the ordinary, I think, items to include in your EBC kit list? So 5 items that are out of the ordinary. 5 might be a lot for us to do each because we do whole things. But
it's okay, we'll do 5 between us.
I'll see if I can live off some pretty quick ones. Actually, I think Andrea's already said pack of cards.
Yeah. Dave's sense of humour, that's definitely an important piece of equipment.
So pack of cards or like Uno or something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody, when they get, has got an evening to spend, and usually you'll be playing cards.
Yeah.
Hip flask full of my favourite whiskey. I love whiskey. It's one of
You like whiskey?
Oh, I love whiskey, yeah. And even though you're not supposed to drink alcohol at altitude, I'm not drinking a lot of it, but having a little nightcap sometimes, if you fancy one, helps you get a good night's sleep.
Okay.
And it's something to celebrate with. So that's probably my 2.
Nice. Weird stuff. I mean, classic. You've got to, most important bit, you've got to have decent boots. Look after your feet, whether it's trail shoes, whether it's hiking boots.
I will say this is out of the ordinary items.
Out of the ordinary, you could probably say I would go for, what do they call them? Inner soles.
Insoles.
Insoles.
Yeah, insoles are
Inner
good.
soles, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I'd say insoles, definitely in the boots, helps a lot.
Beef jerky.
Okay.
What
about
because
if you're vegan? Or vegetarian?
Vegan jerky.
Okay.
They do it.
Interesting.
Mainly because if you are a meat eater and you adopt a vegetarian diet when you're in the Himalaya, that can be quite a long time, 11 days, to miss out on something that's usually in your diet. So a little bit of protein from the beef jerky I usually bring, that type of thing.
Summit, silly socks. I love that. The sweet treats, yeah. And it's something to remember as well. When you're on a trek, you're going to have your days where you're not quite feeling 100%, and it's good to bring something from home that'll just cheer you up.
Yeah.
Like I bring some Snickers chocolates with me. Anything really that can give you a bit of a pick-me-up, definitely.
Scuba canister.
No, you don't need those.
Why not?
Well,
it's oxygen, isn't it?
No.
It helps you survive in a low oxygen environment.
It does actually, yeah, a little bit. But that's the other end of the spectrum.
Is that the other end, is it? When you go under?
When we go under. Sorry, I used to teach scuba diving, so Dave's, he's in a joke.
So Mercedes said she'd bring some Smash. I've never that's amazing.
That is
out of
good,
all
actually.
the things, I guess because it's just easy to just scoop and eat, and it's tasty.
It's carbs as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but I've never.
Interesting. Might try that, Mercedes. It's a good idea, mate.
All the years I've been trekking, I've never known anyone say they wish they brought Smash.
Interesting. I bet they use it on some of the summit expedition.
I knew a guy that used to bring us like super noodle sachets.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It's quite tasty.
It works. Carl, can you get all the sweet snacks from Namche? Yeah, there are a lot of shops in Namche where you can buy stuff. Because it's a little bit higher up, it will be more expensive, say, than down in Lukla. And in Lukla, it'll be more expensive than Kathmandu. But the difficulty is, obviously, you're flying into Lukla and there's like weight limits.
Yeah.
So, instead of loading up in Kathmandu, you can do it in the mountains. And there are a lot of shops. So you can buy, treats in the mountains. It just the higher up you get, it's just a little bit more expensive.
I tend to do it in Namche.
Yeah, Namche is good.
Although
good
I remember
You're there for 2 days.
No word of a lie. I think it was John. Was it you or John when we were going around and we found wasabi coated cuttlefish?
That wasn't me.
Yeah, we bought them. I will say that wasabi coated cuttlefish is a terrible snack. We also found a packet that was simply called hygienic meat.
Hygienic
meat.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I didn't buy the hygienic meat because it worried me that they had to put that on the label. Like,
what, just that they're hygienic?
It should go without saying. So the fact they had to put it on the label, I was like, nah, yeah, I'm all right, actually, for the hygienic meat.
Pratesh, a question, please. Of course, Pratesh. I know you're on here a lot. Are there showers in the tea houses or bucket baths? Yeah, so some do have showers, but the problem is that it's not always heated. So one thing at altitude, especially in like the colder months, is that you want to maintain your core temperature, and it's hard if you're having like a cold shower. So, I'm all for cold showers normally in building up your immune system, but when you're at altitude, you can potentially catch a cold, by doing it. So don't recommend it, but there are some options in some of the tea houses that also do provide some hot water at times. Yeah, so it is possible, but I'd go into it planning not to have it, and then if you do have them, it's a bonus. That's the way I'd always do it with the showers. Plan that you have a shower in Kathmandu, and your mindset is you're not going to shower till you get back.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd kind of picture it, definitely.
Yeah, I opt for largely wet wipes and things like that.
Right. Jim's like, I showered every day. Exactly. It's sometimes available.
Yeah, see, I don't. I can't be bothered. Usually I'm too lazy and I think it's cold. And I don't want to get a chest issue or anything like that. So I can't never be bothered.
Clean with wet wipes and
talc. Wet wipes and talc is amazing, any type of stuff like that. Apparently it's supposed to be bad for the environment, but I don't know why.
There's a lot of kind of really good for the environment talc now.
Yeah, well, I ordered some off Amazon ages and ages ago for the Glencoe Challenge.
Yeah.
And apparently that was good for the environment, talc. I will say, no, I'm not going to do that because it's quite crude. But I remember. It's not good for... Do you remember? It's not good for everything.
It's not good for everything.
It can burn.
Yes.
Yeah, it can burn.
Gotta be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, I said it was like pouring sort of like liquid fire or powdered
on
fire.
Your backside.
Rather. Yeah.
Oof.
Let's have a quick look now. So Trevor Bamba, have you ever thought about summiting one day? I thought about it a lot, and actually, the older I get, the less I feel like it used to be an obsession of mine, which was one day to summit Everest. I think that back, say, in around 2020, pre-COVID, it was like we were going to make it happen within a few years. I would say that the more time goes on and the older I get, the less important it seems to me. But having said that, man, if like tomorrow I got an opportunity to join a great expedition, I probably would go. But it's, for me...
It's a very different world, isn't it? The trekking industry and the climbing industry is very different these days.
I think I might be getting softer as I get older, but like every year you get used to seeing people like die on the mountain.
Yeah.
And it never used to bother me beyond like, oh, that's sad. But we all knew what we would, they all knew what they were doing, and you kind of rationalize it. And then the other day, I think I don't agree with this, by the way, but more and more sort of social media channels are like posting videos of like the bodies, and I don't know why, but I saw one and I was like, man, that person had like, do you know what? This is gonna sound stupid, right? But I was watching him and he had La Sportiva boots on, right?
Yeah,
and it was the 8,000 meter versions of the one I got, and I thought to myself, I don't know why, but I started thinking, oh man, there was a day where he bought those boots and he was excited to have them. Yeah. And he knew what he was going to do with them.
I know.
And now they're there.
Didn't work out.
And so
it's heavy, isn't
stuff like that makes me change my mind. But having said that, like I said, if I could do like Carl said, if I could like go on one of Kenton's stuff where it's safe, quick.
That's something I wish I had a couple of underground. That's the
Yeah,
thing, isn't
yeah.
it? But no, exactly. And when you go into Everest, is in the summit, it is very different, obviously, to go to base camp. But it is something that we've talked about long and hard over the last few years, haven't we? And certainly there's other stuff and other places we'd rather go, as in mountains and climbing mountains. But yeah, it's definitely still on my bucket list.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just more as I get older, I
Yeah.
think I'm confronting the reality of it a lot
Mm.
more. And I think if I ever did do it, I would go into it with that in mind, you know,
Yeah.
so you understood the risks. Heavy, but yeah, bit grim.
Definitely. So yeah, bringing it back then. So Trevor Nixon, would you recommend dry food like Huel? Yeah, some people do take their own stuff, especially if there's certain allergies or there's certain things that you like, and especially at altitude, because you're an oxygen deprived environment, you'll find that your muscles tend to get they shrink a little because you don't get enough protein. So yeah, if there's something that you want to take up there that can supplement that, and food supplements or protein and stuff, some people do take them. So certainly like Huel as well, or there was some packs that people take called Summit to Eat. You can have those, but on all of our trips, especially treks, like the food is included. So don't feel like you have to bring them, because you'll get all the food, and it's all from the mountains, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're, we know some people like, they like what they like, and they're thinking, I'm not going to risk it. There might be something I don't want, and they bring their own stuff. It's perfectly fine. Just be conscious that you can't always cook your own stuff. You might be able to get some hot water and kind of mix it in. So in the simple stuff, it's easy. You're not necessarily allowed to go in the kitchens to kind of rock something up, rustle something up. But you can certainly bring things like Huel and stuff if you wanted to.
Yep, awesome.
Nice.
Trevor Nixon, would a cigar at base camp be frowned upon? No, I don't think so.
I've seen that many times.
Yeah,
people have beers, whiskey, whatever's good for you.
Often the locals, porters,
Yeah.
you'll see them stopping for smoke breaks and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah, great stuff. Steve asks, hey Steve, I hope all is well. Steve Weston. Question for the live: if someone has a medical condition, needs a bit more rest time, do you do slightly longer trips? So essentially, obviously, because we've got fixed dates and groups, you can do private trips. They are a bit more expensive because, as you can imagine, there's not a group there, so you can do it, and we have done it before. For some people who, like we had this guy who was kind of non-verbal autistic, and he had 4 of his carers go with him. And we put that on as a private trip, and we got to Everest Base Camp, but that was a completely private trip. So if it's something that you need those extra days, it's not something that can be feasible alongside another group, because as you can imagine, they're going and you're hanging back. So obviously you need your own guide. So yeah, anything can be done. It would just be a private group, that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, hope all is well, mate, especially with Tenavan and all that stuff. Be good to catch up.
Awesome. Let's have a quick look here. Which is more challenging, Everest Base Camp, Annapurna Base Camp, or Langtang?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a good question. I'd
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
say they all will equally have their days that are really challenging. Probably maybe Everest.
I'd say ABC, yeah.
Yeah,
Out of
probably
those 3.
probably Everest is more challenging. I mean,
Yeah.
physically, that the difference is subjective. It depends on the individual's personal fitness and stuff like that.
And they're all difficult, aren't they?
Yeah.
In their own right. Yeah.
I would also say that there are some other challenges beyond fitness for EBC. So getting to the mountains.
Yeah.
The flight to Lukla, that and the weather can play certain cards. So if you're looking for an answer, I'd say Everest Base Camp, but it is subjective. Some people may disagree and say Annapurna Base Camp is better. Harder. Other people might say Langtang. Oh, you're underestimating it. That type of thing. So it depends on the individual, but I would say EBC.
Yeah, and I'd also say as well, Glenn, why do you do all 3? Then you can tell us.
That's a good point.
You can tell us then how difficult they are. But no, I think Dave's got it. Hit the nail on the head there. Carl, K2 harder than EBC, so K2 Base Camp. So very different trips, I'd say. So the 3 Passes trip, you're still staying in mountain villages. You're still staying in accommodation, where K2 is not necessarily harder from an altitude perspective, but you're only staying in camps. So as soon as you leave Skardu, and you've actually reached the Baltoro Glacier, you're in camps the whole way then until you get to K2 Base Camp. A lot of people have fed back that kind of makes it mentally more difficult, because you don't have the home comforts of staying in. Yeah, I know they're super basic anyway in Nepal, but sometimes having a roof over your head and having your food cooked inside and having villages that you can walk around is different to staying in camps. But people absolutely love a car. Yeah, it's we've had a few of our groups that went in the summer, and they challenging definitely, but they had a great time.
Yeah, very hard. I think very.
Yeah.
It's a cut above the rest. I think in terms of trekking difficulty.
Definitely,
but yeah, is awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome. What do you think there?
Yeah, good. So we do have some more questions, guys, and we've got about another few minutes. I mean, just to kind of round it off, really. I know we've talked about obviously Everest Base Camp today. Well done to Scott as well. Absolutely, we'll be getting in touch with Scott. And Dave, any kind of final thoughts around things?
I think honestly that if it is something that you want to, if you even have the slightest inkling that you might want to go out and try and do something like Everest Base Camp, like don't let it die on the vine. Get out there and move mountains to try and make it happen, because I genuinely think that regardless of any minute circumstances that might take place whilst you're out there, like weather delays, it might be physically tough, the altitude might play a factor. Once you've completed it and you've got home, everybody is better for having had that experience. So yeah, like the people, and you see a wide range of people. Some of them go there and they go, mate, that was a piece of cake, but it was awesome. Other people go, man, I barely made it, but it was awesome. I don't know many people at all that would ever come back and say they wish they never went. I think everybody gets enriched by the experience. So just, take a risk, go out there, it'll pay off.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic trip. And I know that some of you as well asking about insurance and stuff. Insurance is a big question. There's loads of insurance companies out there. I know that definitely. Vic is posting the links there for the insurance. Have a little look. I know Andrew, you mentioned about for those slightly more mature Evertrekkers, there are some companies that do offer it. I was chatting with a guy called Brian who's going to Everest Base Camp, and he was struggling to find. I think he was 71, but there are obviously higher costs as you get older in terms of insurance, but definitely possible. I know Campbell Irvin especially will add a premium to it, but it is 100% possible. Everyone's just joining now. Ben, Connor, Scott. Yes, we have announced the winner. Once we finish, you'll be able to rewatch this, and you can see and you can find out. But just let everyone know, to everyone that's joined as well, that after this we will be sending emails with runner-up prizes as well. So if this is something you are keen to do, obviously we'd love to be part of that journey. Obviously any questions off the back of that, do reach out to the team, whether that's a live chat on the website. Whether that's on social media, just drop us a DM, or then you can also WhatsApp us or just email us. Old school email is fine. Or you can pick up the phone, whatever you'd like to do. But it's been really good today.
No, yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. It's been weird doing it on a Friday.
Yeah, the FTI. It's
the FTI.
Definitely, we'll be back with a TTI next week.
FTI, there's definitely a, that's like an initialism there, isn't it, for something?
Something's going on.
Yeah.
Could be rude.
So I'm thinking what I could be. Never mind. Yeah, I'll leave that. I'll leave that to the guys. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. We'll be back next week. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And like I said, any interest on Everest, just get in touch, and we'll speak to you soon.
Nice one. Take it easy, guys.
All the best.